Now, Al Jazeera has obtained a draft document that says Hamas has proposed a three-stage ceasefire plan in response to mediation by Qatar and Egypt. It involves the exchange of Israeli captives for Palestinian prisoners, reconstruction of Gaza, and the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces. We can now speak to Muhhamed Nazzal, who's a member of Hamas's political bureau, about this. Thanks for your time with us on Al Jazeera. I'm looking at the draft agreement right here. First of all, can you explain why Hamas proposed this agreement in three stages? What was the thinking behind that?
To begin with, the proposal received by Hamas following the Paris conference speaks of three stages. As a result, Hamas, in the response, was committed to these three-phase process. However, Hamas was more specific as they proposed certain deadlines. The first one comes at 45 ceasefire, the second also 4 to 45 days, and so is the third. Therefore, these time limits were specified by Hamas themselves. Another issue, the categories of captives to be released were also specified. The first phase will see the release of children below 19 years of age, as well as non-military women, civilian women and elders. The second phase will see the release of all the Israeli captives, men and soldiers. And the third one will be for the release of dead bodies kept with both sides. This is the specificities or the specifics of Hamas' response to Paris paper.
Mr. Nazzal, Hamas has said that any hostage deal has to include a comprehensive ceasefire that would end the war in Gaza and lead to a reconstruction effort, as well as the lifting of the siege. But we know that Israel in the past has said that it won't commit to ending the war as part of any deal. Now, looking at this draft agreement, there are many details here, and it could be safe to assume that the Israelis won't accept some of the points in it. What are Hamas's red lines?
As you know, there are very specific details, and among these details cannot be compromised by Hamas. The first demand is to put an end to the Israeli war, to bring the Israeli killing machine to a halt. Do you think that we will accept the war to continue against our civilian population? This is not acceptable. Another issue, we wish to see the Israeli occupation forces withdrawing from Gaza Strip entirely. We don't think that the Israelis are willing to remain in Gaza Strip. That's why the demands raised by Hamas are lawful and reasonable. The Qatari Prime Minister described Hamas' response as a whole as positive. That's why our response, we believe, is realistic and our demands are reasonable.
But on this issue, you just said that a full ceasefire is one of your conditions. On this issue, in the past, Hamas said that there must be a full ceasefire as part of any agreement. But in this draft agreement that you put together, we see that it's in the second stage of the agreement and not in the first 45 days. Is there a reason for that? And is that a concession that's being made by Hamas?
We put it this way in order to test the waters, in order to test. We have certain concerns, we have even fears that the Israelis will not be committed to the agreement. We also believe that the entire agreement may be undermined. That's why we put the total and permanent ceasefire in the second phase, where more agreements will be reached. Throughout the three stages, we no doubt will raise our ultimate demand, which is permanent ceasefire. Without the ceasefire, no other agreements can be materialized on the ground.
Have you gotten guarantees from the mediators that they will, in fact, be the guarantors of any agreement that's been agreed on?
We have proposed 5 parties to act as guarantors: Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, Russia, and the United Nations. These 5 parties are concerned to ensure the permanent ceasefire and to act as guarantor. But this will be taking place once both sides reach an agreement. We are waiting for the response from the Israeli occupation government. We are waiting to see the reply to the proposals made by Hamas in response. Therefore, we expect a negotiation to start. Once negotiations start, any obstacles can be ironed out on the way to reach a final agreement whereby we can dot the I's and cross the T's.
Okay, and just let me ask you one final question, your reaction to what the President of the U.S., Joe Biden, said to this draft agreement, calling it a little over the top.
We do not expect the American president to come up with a better statement. He is totally biased. The American administration is totally biased. He was part of the war waged on Gaza by providing the political and legal cover for the Israelis, let alone the military and financial assistance provided to the Israeli occupation forces. He was with Netanyahu hand in hand. He was even supporting all the moves taken by Netanyahu. That's why we did not expect a better response from the American administrations. And regardless of the Biden statement, we believe that this is a preliminary response, and we expect the U.S. administration will come up with a final decision. Are they willing for the war to continue, or they want to see a permanent ceasefire?
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Muhhamed Nazzal, we thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera. Muhhamed Nazzal is from Hamas's political bureau.